Hi, Sarah here with a Crafty Ribbons design team project for you today. Here are some of the nautical themed ribbons that I have chosen. I obviously will not be using all of them, but I just thought I'd give you a bit of a look at some of the options available in the shop. As you can see, I am using this anchor, so those were the ribbons I thought would go really nicely with it. All details I will leave below, including the final ribbons I do use. They'll be in the description box below if you want to get hold of them. So to begin with, I'm taking some white gesso and a cat apparently, and just applying it over the entire anchor here. It's a paper mache and from Hobbycraft. I think it was literally maybe about £2 because I think I got it at half price as well in a sale or something. So I'm just applying 2 coats of the gesso. Here you can see me applying the second coat, and I just apply it to one side, flip it, once it's dry flip it, apply it to the other and repeat. So as you can see, I'm just patching up any last little bits here, and that is the base of my project ready. I use a lot of gesso because I will be using lots and lots of paints, mixed medium, the gloss gel as you can see there, so there's a lot of stuff going on top of this, so a good base will mean that it won't all peel off later or anything like that will happen. Next I'm using some cheesecloth. A lot of the things I do use are also from Thompsons craft supplies. This was a nautical themed kit from about a year and a couple of months ago maybe. And first off, I'm just applying some cheesecloth, which will get covered in inks and whatnot later. I'm just using the 3D gloss gel to stick that down. It dries clear so you can't really see it once it's applied, plus there'll be lots more layers going on top of it afterwards anyway. And I just spread out bits here and there just to get a nice sort of floaty effect, so it does make the anchor look like it's underwater a little bit. Next I'm taking some of the fishing net, also from the kit, and applying this on top again with my gel medium. And I make sure I apply quite a lot of this because I want it to be really secure, and then between each layer of embellishments I do let it dry for quite a while so that there's not loads and loads of heavy things all trying to dry at once. So I think I apply the first layer here of net and shells, and then I let it dry for a bit. So I've added again gel medium behind there. I'm adding a few little shells down that one side of the anchor. As you can see at the moment it's all sort of brown and obviously white and different colours, but I will be going over the entire thing afterwards once I'm happy with the arrangement of my shells. I believe these were from Artful Days. They had little packs of shells in case you don't have a beach near, just packed up ready just to use on altered art projects like this. And then with the smaller shells I just apply the gel and then sprinkle them on like glitter or like art stones, and just they fall where they fall, and then I just press things down to make sure that it's secure as well. So still doing this here, adding a few more shells down the side. I don't apply them all over because I wanted a bit of a seabed kind of effect down that one side there. Next, this is my focal point because it's off the page and not a scrapbook layout. I wanted a nice focal point for my picture, which will be going in the shutters there. And now I'm adding a couple of resin pieces by Artful Days, which have a nice nautical feel to them. Sorry, getting tongue-tied already. And now I'm just applying again just the gel medium. I'm placing it on paper, and then I go through and sprinkle on some art stones. These are by Prima, I think, and I add the large size first and get quite a few of them down, They're the mega ones. Then the normal size ones, I sprinkle them on top and they will stick to any of the gel that's around the larger stones. And I just apply them here and there. And then obviously all the ones that fall onto the paper, I just fold that up and pour them back in the large stone one again. And then finally these are the mini art stones, which are more, they're almost like gravel, they're very tiny, and they fill in all the gaps where there's still gel and stick to them. And I can just press them down a little bit here and there and then leave all that to dry. Now that my base is ready with the embellishments on, I do go around the entire thing with a paintbrush and some more gesso and apply that over the entire thing. I do cut quite a bit of my painting out because I do spend a very long time painting this particular project. So as you can see, I've cut to the end, and there's the kitten again. And I've gone over the whole thing where all the new embellishments are to make sure that everything is covered in gesso. Again, I don't do it too much on the shutters because I want them to still have a nice woody look coming through. I don't want it to be completely covered in white. Next up, I'm using these paints here. These were also from Thompsons Craft Supplies. I think they're by Fabrica Decor. I think it's a European company, and they have a pearlescent finish. And again, as I did with the white gesso, I go over the entire thing, just picking out the details of all the embellishments, because obviously they've been made quite flat by coating them in white. And now I'm going to bring out the detail again using, first off I'm using the it's like an aqua turquoisey colour, and I don't end up using the green because I didn't think it went that well with this particular project. And then I do go back in with the lilac-y coloured one, which gives a really nice pearly finish on top of the white gesso and mixes with the turquoise as well to give a really nice different sort of shade as well. And again, I don't show the whole thing. Oh, I do add spritz of water here and there, and that just helps the colour move around, and it also sprays the colour off any details I don't want to be covered up. It'll and makes the paint sink into the gaps rather than anything that would naturally be highlighted. So that really helps doing that without it being too fiddly. It's a really simple way to get that effect. Apologies for my head here and there. I do try and cut it out as much as possible, but obviously if I do it too much it does make the camera jump a bit. So I think that's about it on there. I do add a little bit of the pearlescent paint onto the shutters as well. And now I've got that double layer. There's a bit of a close-up of what it looks like. So now I've got a pearly effect over the whole thing, but as you can see the details are still quite lost because it is also pale. So next I use some mermaid markers by Jane Davenport, and these are an ink. So once they're dry they're permanent, but whilst they're wet they behave a little bit like watercolour. So you can move them around, but obviously once they are dry that's it, they won't reactivate. So I'm just dabbing it on because it's straight from like a water brush effect pen. And once I've dabbed it on, spritz water on, and it just works its way into all the nooks and crannies. So as you can see, I'm going around the octopus here, doing the same thing, just applying bits around where I imagine the shadows would be anyway, and then all around the edge of the anchor. I then add a little bit to the shutters because I do want the colours to be throughout the whole background before I add the paper layers etc. on top. So I'm just applying a little bit, again spritz it so that the ink moves around, and then once I'm happy I just let it naturally just dry and move a little bit more, and as it dries it sort of lightens up and fades in as well into the different colours. And I decide I'm still not happy with the depth of the detail around the anchor, so again I go back in. Again, I won't show the whole thing, just a little bit of the process, and I go back in with an even darker colour. It's darker, but it's also more of a turquoisey colour, and the other one's more of a navy, but it actually isn't as strong a colour. So as you can see, when I spritz this, you can see it seeping through the shell and creating lots of nice depth behind there. Again, going all the way around the edge, and the last few finishing touches here of this colour. And again, as you can see here, it looks lighter now because it did react a little bit with some of the paint or the art stone. Something made it a little bit lighter, so I'm not sure why that happened because it had been dry for quite some time. But now I'm happy with that background. I'm going to layer up some papers. These are basically, I just took lots of scraps because I had a few bits and bobs left over from my nautical kit, and I just chose ones that I thought would go well with my ribbons that I decided to use, and I distressed around the edge of all my papers, then just piece them together. And I do actually go back and pull them apart and add foam between each layer because I felt like it was too flat compared to the background, but I don't show myself doing that, but I do just pull them apart because it's just tape holding these together, so it was easy to peel them up and then reattach them afterwards. But yeah, every single layer I distress the edges of the paper just to add a little bit more dimension and interest and texture. And then there's the photo of my little boy, and I chose to put the frame on that side because I wanted him looking in towards the centre of the anchor there. For an added touch of texture, I'm also using some tulle here. I use 3 layers, and then I just add a bit of gel medium to the shutters base, and then once I'm happy with how it's placed, I do just take some time just trimming around the edges so it's not too much tulle over the edge of the shutters because I didn't want it to be completely covered. And again, here I go again, adding a little bit more depth to my background. So this time I'm using just some distress spray, and I just dip a brush into the spray bottle, and I think this one is Faded Jeans. So that just added more of a navy colour because it wasn't matching perfectly with the ribbon that I'd chosen, that really nice blue striped nautical style ribbon. So I just wanted to make sure that the colour would work really well with my ribbon. So here's me just trimming the tulle slightly just so it's not such big pieces all around the edge. Next up, I'm just adding a little bit more paper layers, and now I've taken some eyelash ribbon. This is from Crafty Ribbons. I did get this a while ago. If it's still in stock, I will link it. And it just adds an extra, I think it's a little bit, not like seaweed, but kind of represents seaweed a little bit maybe. But I just like the look of it, and it's got a little bit of a glitter to it as well. And now I'm just adding some flowers. Again, I don't show every single bit of this because I do fuss around, nudge them around a bit, because with gel medium you can, you've got wiggle room, you've got a bit of time to readjust things a little bit. So I'm just basically making 3 clusters, one at the bottom of the photo, one at the top corner, and then a further one just to create a visual triangle on the anchor there. And now I'm happy with that. My finishing touch is my ribbon. I decided to go for the quite fine ribbon because I felt like the thicker ones, they look lovely, but I wanted a more delicate one, so I went for the nice thin ones. And that is me finished. So thanks for joining me today. Do check out Crafty Ribbons, and do check out the Crafty Ribbons Facebook group, which has competitions. All you have to do is make something with ribbon. So again, have a great day, and see you soon. Bye.